All right. So I am here today joined by Suzanne Todd, who is a European co-head of dispute resolution with the United Kingdom. And so thank you so much for joining us today. I wanted to ask if there was a little bit that you could share about your journey, specifically being about a woman, a lawyer, and working in your field of family law.
Completely. Very happy to do so. Thank you very much for the invitation to join you all today. So on the one hand, my journey is very boring because I've been at the same firm for 26 years almost. But on the other side of the fence, that this firm has changed exponentially. So I did my interview for what we call our training contract interview way back in 1995, when we didn't have mobile phones or anything like that. So part of my training contract interview was an interview in Italian in a red telephone box, but we can come back to the Italian bit later. So I started at my firm in 1997. But as a woman, have been incredibly lucky because we had the first female chair at Withers of a city law firm in 1999. So for me, that was completely normal, but for everybody else in the world, it was obviously a massive thing. And then for the last 20 years, we've had a female global CEO as well. So my journey and experience as a woman in the law has been thankfully very different to a lot of my contemporaries who've had very, very different experiences. The firm that I joined had one office with 30 partners. We now have 17 offices worldwide and 1,500 people. So while I say I'm boring on the one hand, actually the firm has completely evolved around me. And as a family lawyer, I grew up, my father was a minister, a vicar. So I grew up in a vicarage. So everything was confidential and everything was about people and their stories. So I think I'm quite nosy by nature. So therefore being a family lawyer segued quite nicely from that. So I like to find out what happens. Yeah, I like to find out what happens behind closed doors. And every single person's story is different. The world moves on, so the stories change. I still remember the first client who very sadly found out that her husband was having an affair because he'd left the mobile phone on the kitchen counter in the days before anybody passworded their mobile phones or had a burner phone. Or so the world changes and therefore the stories change. So that, I think that's how I ended up in family law.
with the nosiness, it was just
With the
innate to
nosiness,
get.
exactly.
I love it. And that's actually a really good point is, what are your interests? What are you good at? What are you naturally, interested in, especially as a woman, where we do have these, CIA type skills, these
Exactly.
investigative type of skills, and how
Exactly.
we can use them to support us in our career.
Yeah.
So you had a skill of diving deep into people's stories, their histories, their relationships. Can you tell us a little bit more about the characteristics or qualities or skills that another woman would need to be successful in the family law arena?
So for me personally, I think one of the most important skills, especially in today's world, is being authentic, because that is what the younger generation want to see coming through. When my eldest son is almost 19, and in those days you didn't talk about having children and you didn't say anything, and you came into the office and it was as if they didn't exist. Whereas now people, they want to hear your war stories. They want to hear that you had this issue and then you can relate and understand what they are going through. So I think being authentic to yourself is really important. All of the things that obviously as a lawyer we need to be hardworking, we need to be organized. I have lots of lists. People are always taking the mickey out of me for having lots of lists of different things, and just be very efficient in our use of our time. And I think that I thought I was quite efficient in the use of my time before having children. So I have 2 boys, but actually you become even more efficient in terms of how you use your time, what you do, where you do it, and how you do it. And I think and I think it's the same now, because what I have seen change in sort of my 25 years in the law is it's the husband and the wife, it's the man and the woman, it's the 2 women, it's the 2, whatever the modern family situation setup is. Everybody now is expected to take part in the childcare and help and all of that sort of stuff. So I think it's good communications both in the office and at home as well are very important. And then I think the other thing that's very important for all of us, whether we have children or don't have children, is the support structure that we have around us as in our career. If we're lucky enough still to have parents, good partners, friends, good support in the office, our fellow partners, the support that we have from our associates, from our admin teams, marketing teams, all of that sort of stuff. And I think making sure all of those pillars of support are in place around us enables us to do the things that we're really good at, and to thrive and to survive, and then to move through the career ladder. So I think a career as a lawyer is, it's sort of a bit like a doctor, isn't it? Because you do your exams, you do law school, you get a training contract, and you're like, oh, I don't know how to do this. And then you learn how to do it. And then you become an associate, and it's like, I don't know any more on Monday than I did on Friday, but you sort of pedal quite hard. And then you become a partner. And again, you didn't know any more than you did on Friday, but suddenly you're expected to be able to bring in the work, service the clients, run a team, and have all of these different skill sets. And just because you were a really good associate and could do the client work does not mean that you necessarily have all of those different skill sets to move to the next stage.
I love that you were mentioning about the support system and having these pillars in place, because I mean, let's face it, us as women lawyers, like, we should just wear a cape. Like, we are heroes to, so, you know, not just to our clients, but also to our family and also to our coworkers. And, you know, you mentioned that you have two boys. And so I'm also wondering, how is it that you are managing this work life? I don't really like the word balance. I like the word more
I agree.
integration.
Yes.
Yeah. How are you integrating your
Because I
entire
think
life?
balance is different for everyone. Everyone has a different definition of what is balance and what is not balance. And I work at an international law firm, so that in itself comes with certain expectations of what the clients need and how we have to service them and all of that sort of stuff. So I think it differs compared to which stage of the journey you're at. When your little ones are small, it's very physical and it's very hands-on and all of that sort of stuff, and it's hard to find time for yourself. So I think what I would say, which I didn't do, which I coach all of my young mums to do, is find a bit of time for yourself. Even if that's your walk from the train station to the office in the morning, find some space, because otherwise we are attached to some sort of devices or people or something. So just create a little space in your day. It might just be 10-15 minutes, and then as your kids get older, it's more emotionally demanding as they hit teenage years and move through that experience, moving towards college. So now in sort of more recent years, I am ruthless about walking and doing exercise. So I am. So I have a Tuesday and Thursday mornings at 7:30. Doesn't matter what's happening in the world.
You're taking that walk.
6 kilometers done at the weekend. And I've done that slightly crazy thing. Having not played field hockey for 18 years, I've gone back to play hockey after 18 years.
Good on you.
So I didn't realize until I stopped playing it, because I have worked full time the whole way through. I didn't realize how much of a support structure it actually was in the week, in terms of going to do something. And it doesn't matter if it's a sport or painting or, everybody will have their thing. Creating that space and realizing that that is really important part of your week is vital as far as I'm concerned.
I love that. It's like a reminder that you can play too. It's not always just about work. There is also a way for us to relieve this pressure, in our career, and to integrate more freedom, more playtime for ourselves. So I love that reminder. And I wanted to ask Suzanne, how did your work-life integration include the Italian dimension? Because you did mention this earlier. So
I did.
About that?
So I had done French and Spanish A-level at school at the age of 18, but in those days they didn't do law with Spanish. So I ended up doing straight law at university. And at the end of my first year, we were offered, there's a European exchange of students. So I was offered the opportunity. I got one of the 6 places to go and live in Italy for a year. So I did that as part of my degree. That then got me my training contract with that interview in a red telephone box. No mobile phones in those days, because the firm Withers had just merged with a firm and all of the lawyers were Italian speakers. So I was the first Italian speaking trainee recruited at Withers in 1997. I spoke no Italian then, I kid you not, for 10 years. And then someone came into my room and said, I need you to go to Lugano to do a presentation on trust and divorce in Italian. I said, pardon? So I got myself some Italian lessons. I learned the script. But as a result of that, in 2006, I went back to the Italian lessons, and then I was made a partner in 2007, just as the financial crash happened. So I was thinking, and one of the things I think is very important is we all have to have what are you very good at? So I realized that there were only one or two other family lawyers in London who spoke any Italian. So I started visiting Italy. We have an office in Milan. I started doing presentations in Italian. So now about 60% of my clients have an Italian connection of some way, shape or form. And it wasn't until I did a presentation about 10 years ago and I looked backwards at my career that I realized how Italy had touched different parts of it over the years. So yeah, that's where Italy comes from.
You were being groomed all along.
Exactly.
I love that. Thank you so much, Suzanne. So I wanted to ask you just one final question. If you could share some insights, some advice for women who are just starting their career as a lawyer, what is one thing that you would share with them?
So I think that goes back to my be very at something, because if you've got that hook, everything else will flow from it. So choose something. It goes back to what you were saying earlier. What are you interested in? What are you passionate in? And then move forwards from that. That's what I would say to people.
Thank you so much. Yes, this was so wonderful. Thank you for sharing your expertise and your story as well, and your encouragement.
You're very welcome.
Authenticity. I'm taking that piece for myself as well.
Good. Thank you very much for having me.
Suzanne. Thank you.
Bye.